Coming up,
It's death is absolutely gotta be the worst way to die possible. Like, today's movie is a B-movie slasher movie that kind of gives me the low-budget version of the movie Hellbent from 2005, a movie that I reviewed last Pride Month here on my channel. But today's movie is definitely a movie if you are a menses who likes other menses, whether that be you are gay or bi or pan or queer, whatever you identify as. Like, welcome. This one is definitely aimed at you. But if you don't know anything about Kill a Unicorn from 2018, let me quickly fill you in. Kill a Unicorn from 2018 is a B horror comedy. A Brooklyn party boy named Danny is excited to go to a huge party event, but the night takes a turn when he is attacked by a stranger. A year later, he gives his social life a second chance, but the man wearing the unicorn mask is killing off his friends one by one. If you're new here, I'm Hannah and I am the head of the Horde here on Hordes of Horror, and if you aren't new, welcome back. And we talk about horror movies here on my channel on Mondays and Fridays. But as always, when it comes to watching movies that I have never seen before, I'm now going to go and watch Kill a Unicorn off camera. So that way, if you too want to watch the movie about a slasher villain wearing a unicorn mask and sparkly hot pants and now else, nothing will be spoilt for you, because nobody wants to watch a movie that you've just watched somebody else watch from start to finish, and I keep it spoiler free here on my channel because nobody, and I mean nobody, likes spoilers.
Choices.
Serious question though, who is going to a party wearing a grey turtleneck sweater?
You're tacky and I hate you.
This one is certainly going to be a more difficult one to review because due to personal experiences of mine and everything that is going on in the world right now, let's just say that this movie unfortunately has been a little bit tainted. So I'm going to put my hand up right now and say that I didn't like this movie very much, but I think that this could also definitely be very much a me thing. So let's start with the plot, because we always do. It focuses on Danny, who is a Brooklyn party boy who, at the very beginning of the movie, you see him with a bunch of other drag queens consuming far too much powdered sugar for the sake of keeping this YouTube friendly. And things take a horrible turn when Danny escapes from an assault, which is happening in a spicy moment, from a man wearing a unicorn mask and sparkly hot pants. A year later, Danny still isn't convinced that he wants to go back into the party scene, but all his friends being drag queens and far too into partying and powdered sugar, they're not my sort of friends. They're trying to convince him to go back to the party scene. A new boy turns up on the scene, and so does the man in the unicorn mask, who decides he's going to kill off all of Danny's friends one by one. Like, this movie could have been campus tits. Like, was it? No, it's a hot mess. It is like it's like a knockoff of I Know What You Did Last Summer as a plot, and yeah, that's about where the comparison's gonna end.
Did I Know What You Did Last Summer make any sense?
When it comes to the humour, there is a video parody online, and if you haven't seen it, I will put a clip in at some point in this video, of a guy who goes by Alpha Male 4, Level 4 Alpha, something like that, I think it's Level 4 Alpha, who does a bunch of parody videos being like, if gays were in horror movies, and they are absolutely hilarious. But this movie feels like they've taken that kind of parody concept, but not in a funny way. Like, it's humor is not for me. Like, reading and being a little bit bitchy kind of goes hand in hand with the drag community. I don't know, speak on my personal experience with the drag community a little bit later in this video, because trust me, I worked with drag queens for a number of years, so I know the difference between reading and being insulting. And a lot of the humour in this just comes across as like really insulting. Like, to read somebody, they have to be in on the joke. And in this, it's just like somebody's got beef with somebody else and he's trying to be like, ha ha ha, see, it's funny, but I just straight up insulted you. It's just, yeah, it's not my kind of... If somebody reads you and you laugh, you're forgiven. If somebody reads you and it cuts too close to the bone, that's when it's not fun anymore.
Oh my god, oh no, there's a killer in my house.
There is even, and I don't know how I'm going to keep this word YouTube friendly, There is a straight white female character in this who is purely there to be a hag, if you know what I mean. You know what I mean? Like, she's there as a little bit of comic relief, but she's also just a stereotype of the straight white girl that likes to hang around with the gay friends. This movie is about 1 hour and 15 minutes long, and there's only 3 kills in this, and while I can say the kills are probably the best thing about this entire movie, I have also never seen any of the kills quite like this before, because nobody wants a how do I describe this in YouTube friendly terms? Nobody wants a golden rain shower, we'll say, and the idea of being into death is absolutely gotta be the worst way to die possible. Like, the kills, like I said, are the most unique thing about this movie and are absolutely the selling point, because no one wants to be to death. Cause that's no. Yeah. I have mentioned on my channel that for a number of years I used to work with drag queens. I actually worked at a rather well-known venue here within the UK that is run by a millionaire who has been bankrupt multiple times to the point where the brewery had to take over running the building. So let's just say that my job was running backstage, and if I wasn't there, there was no show. Like, there was literally only me backstage most nights. And over my years of working with drag queens, I can honestly say that while I have met some of the nicest of nicest people, I have also met characters who, like, people who match these characters down to a T. We're talking the person who is purely there and can't wait to get their next fix, to the point that they are going out on stage high as a f***ing kite. I've met the bitchy mean gay who thought that they were superior to every other member of the LGBTQ+ community, because misogyny is definitely rampant. And yeah, let's just say that some things about this movie do not bring back some of the best memories for me. As much as I loved that job, there were times when I also hated that job. And it is because of characters like in this movie that kind of give a bad rap. The characters in this movie, they just aren't likeable, which in a movie about queer people being targeted in queer safe spaces is a massive problem. Like, your characters should be likeable and you should want them to survive in their own spaces. Now, anybody that's worked in queer nightlife will also tell you that substances are unfortunately a massive problem, and this movie only feeds into this harmful stereotype. And there's so many things that I could say about this, but I am gonna read you a quote that I found from somebody else's view on Letterboxd, because they absolutely summed up how I feel about this movie in a much more conclusive way. So, to quote Sherlock Horror over on Letterboxd, who simply says, "I have to wonder if this film took itself more seriously and dealt with assault, hate crimes, and a man targeting LGBTQ+ spaces in a less silly way, would it have played better?" And in all honesty, it is really hard to enjoy a movie where minority groups' safe spaces are being targeted right now, because as we all know, the world is basically on fire, and things happening in certain countries are well and truly leaking over into other countries, and safe spaces, like I said, for not just queer people, are no longer safe spaces. People are far too scared to even go to these safe spaces because they are being targeted. Unless you are, it seems, a straight, white, cis man who is middle class or above, like, you don't get to enjoy safe spaces. So at this point, I'm gonna suggest that all queer people, black people, Latinos, Asian people, should we just take up golf? Like, should we go and crash their safe spaces? Because then they'll kind of know what it feels like.
Hell no!
I will say, though, that it is very obvious that this cast has a chemistry with each other. Like, they probably have pre-existing relationships, which means that these are leaking through on camera. So even though their characters aren't necessarily likable, you can tell that everybody who is working together genuinely likes each other, and that kind of speaks volumes. In the end, I am actually going to give Killer Unicorn from 2018 a 1.5 out of 5 stars, because While it does have 3 very unique kills, its characters are very two-dimensional and it is very difficult to actually root for people who aren't likable and are really stereotypical. This movie does nothing to try and expand on characters beyond stereotypes, unfortunately, and let's just say, like I've mentioned, the state of the world right now is absolutely affecting how this movie comes across, and personal memories for me, like, this movie at times was really difficult to watch because I was like, oh, I have absolutely met people like this, and it's definitely a me thing, so take that with a pinch of salt. I think there are people that will certainly enjoy this movie, but if the world wasn't quite so bigoted and hateful and all of homophobic and all of these things right now, this movie would certainly be a more enjoyable watch. But my opinion isn't the only one that matters, which begs the question, should you personally watch Kill a Unicorn from 2018 if you like your horror movies flavoured with drag queens, parties, various substances, sparkly pants, serial killers in costume masks, or anything that is listed here, then you may enjoy Kill a Unicorn from 2018. So there you have it, my initial thoughts and my review for my first time watching Kill a Unicorn from 2018. Unfortunately, this one just wasn't for me, and if somebody has a very different working experience to me, you'll probably enjoy this more. If you've seen the movie, I would love to know what your opinions are down in the comment section down below, and if you do want to watch this movie, there'll be a link to justwatch.com as always in the description bar so you can find out where it is streaming in your country. If you would like to know where else you can find me, I'm also over on Instagram and Letterboxd at HordesOfHorror, where I post every single horror movie that I watch, not just the ones that I talk about here on YouTube. But speaking of YouTube, I'll be back on Monday, and this time it is time for a recommendations list, because I feel like I owe you guys an apology, because so far this year, I think I've only done 1 recommendations list, and we're here in June, so I'm about to change that over the next couple of months, as I'll be starting a mini-series focusing on different streaming platforms and telling you what is actually decent on those platforms. So I'm starting with the 3 paid platforms, so coming on Monday and then in July will be Amazon Prime, Shudder and Netflix, before I then switch over to Tubi, and I have a few more recommendations lists in the works. So until next time, bye. A special thank you to my regenerators here within the Horde for their support over on Patreon.